Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/inspireddisorder.
What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
Bliss, new movie out on Amazon Prime, directed and written by Mike Cahill, starring Owen Wilson, Selma Hayek. Kind of an interesting premise of a film. I'm not going to have a lot of positive things to say, so let me get the positives out immediately. The premise is very interesting. Basically, it's kind of a sci-fi film, which doesn't really expose itself as being kind of sci-fi. You see little hints of something is weird, let's say. You start seeing glitches in the Matrix, as it were. It's the premise is interesting. Which I guess the premise is also a spoiler. So I guess I'll just get into it. I did not like this movie. First off, the acting in this film is horrible. The performances by Selma Hayek and Owen Wilson are probably some of the worst I've seen. Not that these two are blowing it out of the water every time they give a performance, but this one was by far the worst. There are moments where Owen Wilson, he has almost like superpowers in a way, but it's more virtual superpowers. I don't really know how to explain it. This movie's kind of confusing. It doesn't really follow its own rules. But it's like there's scenes where he's doing things with his hands, right? Almost like telekinetic powers. But his performance is like the director had no idea what the post-production of this film was going to be. So Owen Wilson just seems confused when he's doing stuff. It never really feels like he knows what he's doing. I don't know. It's his performance, and Selma Hayek's performance is horrible. But it's a film. So it starts off, he's working in this company called Technical Difficulties. That's his office job. But he's constantly distracted, drawing doodles of this dream house that he has. His coworkers and or employees, people that work there, are just mindlessly being assholes. The background kind of chatter of this office place, pretty much the only word you really hear is sorry. It's like the first word they say, and it's actually part of like their motto or whatever. I don't know, but like he gets brought into his office, which he keeps putting off and putting off and putting off. And people are getting angry at him that he's putting off this meeting. So he finally goes to this meeting with his boss. He accidentally kills his boss. Like his boss fires him. He's standing close to Owen Wilson for some reason, and Owen Wilson just raises his arms. His boss goes flying back, hits his head on the table, and he's knocked out. Oh yeah, by the way, spoilers for a movie that you should not be watching. So he kind of hides the body behind the curtain of his office. And then he leaves, goes to a bar next door where he meets Selma Hayek, who's just kind of this crazy lady that's just like moving her hand and making a light bulb flicker behind him. And it's like this whole, and before that, you see his wallet on the table, kind of like blurry, glitchy kind of look effect to it. So you know something's going wrong. You know, the wallet's kind of disappearing. The business is called Technical Difficulties. The chatter's just variations of sorry. And then so it's like a weird beginning. And then he goes to the bar, and then he meets this person who's got like these powers. And then all of a sudden, like which I feel like the director's like, okay, he's going down, like he's an addict, and he's going down he's what is it called when you relapse? He's going through a relapse, and he's going on a binge. And this person that he meets in the bar is kind of his partner in crime for this binge. And as they binge on drugs, like physically, they start looking more and more homeless as the day goes on. Their performances as homeless people, I guess, were decent. But it's like instantly. The character's on like a few day binge, but it's like instantly they start looking disheveled and start acting sporadic. But these drugs that they're doing are giving them special powers. right? And it's weird, it's like, and the drugs they're taking look like cheap, costume jewelry, gems and stuff, which is weird itself. Um, and she's like the hookup on it, and just like weird things happen that don't really make sense. Anyway, comes to find out later on in this, he's got kids that are looking for him that don't look anything. They don't look like they should be his kids. Like a lot of the things in this reality are very weird. But come to find out, she's trying to tell him, like, she's got like these conspiracy theories that no, we're in the simulation. We need to, like, taking these drugs takes us out of the simulation. And there's this thing where if you this device, if you pack it full of drugs and you shove it up your nose, then you will unplug from the matrix. So they do the thing and they unplug from the matrix, and it's like this clear, like, giant fish tank full of brains that are connected to, like, via branches. It's a weird looking kind of thing inside this fish tank, and then there's people around it, very similar to like the Matrix or a lot of those movies where people jack in, and except for it's through the nose. It's got like some CPAP kind of nose fitting to all of them, and when they take it off, you see these little tentacles, which all of it looks horrible, by the way. It looks very cheap. It looks like, some last minute props were made to kind of like, oh, we need to like they call it the brain box. We need to have the technology to do this brain box. And it's like, now they're in this world that's like perfect. So they go from this like reality where, especially if he's relapsing, it's like homeless, it's dirty, it's grungy, he's sleeping on the streets, their hair is all messy, they're all dirty, even though it's only been a couple days. So when they get out, it's like they're in paradise. They're in bliss. The titular character is the place that the reality that they live in, and they had to create this brain box because reality is so good, right? They like, because the guy who like mined an asteroid or whatever was able to get immense wealth and just started giving it out. So everybody gets a base pay of like $500,000 or whatever. So like nobody has to worry about money. Everything is perfect, but people are still not appreciating how perfect things are. So they had to create the brain box, right? Which Salma Hayek's character is the scientist who invented the brain box. And the idea of the brain box is to create basically like hell. And if you go into the brain box and you experience this hell, how horrible life used to be and can be, then you'll appreciate the bliss more. And Owen Wilson's character, when he gets unplugged from the brain box, he doesn't remember his real life. All he remembers is the life in the brain box and how horrible it is. So his character's like, oh, this is amazing. This is so amazing. Oh, there's the house that I've been drawing and dreaming about. And it's just like, the reality, this perfect reality, doesn't seem very perfect. It almost feels more like a virtual reality than their actual reality. And as they're going, like, there's like this weird drama where like she's worried about exposing the brain box or whatever. And then there's like this point where the brain box reality starts to come in because Owen Wilson's got kids back in the brain box world that are looking for him because he's an addict and he's out on the town living homeless on a binge. So his daughter's looking for him in the brain box world. But then like aspects of the brain box world start to like bleed into what is supposed to be the real world. And like the way to fix it is for them to get more drugs again in the real world. Like it gets the movie really falls apart. The whole reality of this movie really falls apart to where it's like, wait, is the brain box real? Is this Bliss place real? Because it seems like the Bliss place is fake and that like the reality is the hell. Which would make more sense if that's what the message of this movie was, that it's like, oh, we're all living in like this life can be good and it can be extremely horrible. But if you go into a virtual world that's just perfect, then you're not. I don't know. There's so many aspects of this where it could have been good. It's like it felt like this guy is a huge fan of Black Mirror, and wanted to make his own Black Mirror type movie, and it just really doesn't hold up. It doesn't make sense. I mean, the performances are horrible. It feels like these actors don't even know what movie they're in. It seems like they're just as confused as I am, especially when things start to blend together again. It's like, well, how are they how are they all experiencing this reality blending into the it just doesn't make any sense. Um it just it's so weird. And then the end of this thing, so it's like they're going as their reality is bleeding back into the brain box reality, and they're trying to get the drugs. They get the drugs, but they only have enough for one person. So Owen Wilson, this is the end of the movie, by the way. Owen Wilson's like, "Hey, you take it," to Selma Hayek's character, because for some reason, they have like a love connection, even though she's like clearly just like horrible. She's horrible in all realities. And he's like, "I'm gonna stay here," which they're back somehow in the brain box. He's like, they're back homeless, whatever, and he's like, "I'm gonna stay here. You jack out." And so I think I don't know. The movie's confusing. The movie's not very good. I haven't seen anything else this director and writer has ever done. Kind of weird for a writer director to kind of have something that feels like so unbalanced and confusing. But maybe his other stuff is good. But it feels just like I don't know. It just feels like they were making up this story on the go, and it just doesn't. It starts off super interesting, and then just gets more and more confusing. And then by the time like you find out, it's like, oh, there's this brain box. There's like this cameo by Bill Nye the Science Guy, which just is like, it, there's this technology also that Owen Wilson makes. It's like you say a word and the screen animates it, but it's like it's just so stupid. Everything about this movie just becomes more and more stupid, and I would highly recommend people avoiding Bliss at all costs. Not even rated well, but just the premise and the actors involved. It was interesting enough for me to check it out, but I wouldn't pass it on to you as a recommendation. But if you do, it's on Amazon Prime, and it's called Bliss. Get yourself 2 free audiobooks through Audible when you go through my link, inspireddisorder.com/audible. That's 2 free audiobooks just by going through my link, inspireddisorder.com/audible. If you stay with the service, you get a free book every month. Audible originals also available, guided wellness programs, news, and so much more. But get yourself 2 free books because you're a listener of The Ray Taylor Show by going through inspireddisorder.com/audible and get yourself 2 free books. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on IGTV, YouTube, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/inspireddisorder. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. And follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!